We're not going to pretend like the mechanism or the travel matters, the transportation we got from the beginning of the ACC tournament to where we will be tomorrow, which is Duke UNC in the ACC tournament with a ton on the line outside of even the rivalry and it being the third go round for Duke and UNC. And the irony is, after watching both of their games today, and many of you have listened to them right here on our family of networks, the similarities of what they just went through. Like what we just watched UNC go through. First of all, yikes start. Okay, both Duke and UNC. I mean, we were getting Duke UNC. We were staring through the first 5 minutes of each of those games, 10 minutes of each of those games at Georgia Tech Wake. But instead, we get Duke UNC because after those yikes starts, they fought back. Second similarity, adversity. What UNC went through, a different kind of adversity, but Duke also faced it, right? UNC. I have to give Hubert Davis credit, and I have to give Steve Forbes credit that they weren't much more demonstrative towards the officials. And I hate that the refs became part of the story. I say that often, but Hubert Davis picked up a technical foul. They had to control their teams. The refs were, the nice part is they were consistent. The bad part was they weren't consistently good. They let football plays go, and then they were touchy on some calls. It was a really tough one to handle. And UNC was able to overcome all of that against a good Wake Forest team that was getting a star performance from Hunter Salas and win anyway. And then obviously the adversity for Duke involves injuries, whether it was Malik Brown going out and apparently in a tremendous amount of pain with the shoulder injury. And then, as many of you know, Cooper Flagg going out with the ankle injury, rolled his ankle, not expected to play tomorrow, at least not based on the comments of John Shire in the postgame. And they were able to overcome that adversity. They win the game. So now Duke, Carolina tomorrow. Let's dive into UNC a bit further because that's the game you just listened to here on 99.9 The Fan. And credit where it's due, RJ Davis. There was a let me bring up my notes here, sitting courtside taking notes like a nerd in school. All right, here it is. With a few minutes before half. All right, I'm going to let everybody into how it felt in the building in the Spectrum Center. A few minutes before half, RJ Davis hit his second three. I wrote this down. RJ Davis, 2 threes, ... something's percolating. It felt like RJ Davis was teetering on the edge of, am I going to have a classic RJ Davis performance or not? He hit the second three. I wrote down something's percolating, came right out in the second half, knocked down a three very early in that one, which basically confirmed to me that it was going to be one of those days. He finished 5 of 6 from 3, 8 of 8 from the line, led the Tar Heels in scoring with 23. It was a unbelievable efficient day for RJ Davis, which at his worst this year, efficient is not how you could describe RJ Davis. Sometimes shooting his team out of games was more what he was doing. But in this case, the team shot 36.4% from 3. He was 5 of 6 from 3. And that got the team rolling. If I were to give, I don't know, like credit trophies, right? The team win, team first, team always. If I were to say these were the players that won in my initial reactions here, and Dennis Cox, by the way, is currently in the UNC victorious locker room talking to players, getting their insight. So that is literally how fresh these reactions are. It would be 3. Like if I were to do, actually, this is the better way to do it, right? If I were to give the 3 stars, like after Canes games, you see being done, like after hockey games. The 3rd star, I think I'm going to go with, let me make sure I have this right. Don't want to miss anything. Jalen Withers. 3rd star, Jalen Withers. And I love it for this reason. He went 2 of 10, which isn't great. 2 of 7 from 3, which isn't great. But he kept taking the shots. He knocked down a huge 3 from the corner at the end. Fell a bit like a nail in the coffin. But on top of that, missed 3, ends up being dunked by Van Allen Lubin on a tip dunk. So much of what he did was about gathering gravity, right? It was about drawing the defense to him, and then others could benefit from it. 2nd star goes to Van Allen Lubin. 10 points, 13 rebounds, which I believe ties a season high. had the big dunks, had some plays down the stretch that really led to the win. And then my first star would be RJ Davis. The leader showed up when he needed to. The defending ACC Player of the Year showed up when he needed to, and the rest of the team filled in the cracks, and they ended up winning by 9 against Wake Forest in a game that was not a 9-point win. Right, it was a 2-possession win at most in vibes in how it felt. There was football plays, as I mentioned. There was an insane amount of contact being played occasionally. Again, I don't want to go too far down the official path, but let's just say occasionally the chippiness was allowed to boil over, and UNC was better for it. They were better to deal with it. It was obvious this was the most desperate game we've seen. It was obvious this was the most desperate game we've seen. Both Wake Forest and North Carolina were fighting for their lives, and it looked ugly at times. It looked ugly a lot of times, but it was competitive throughout. I give both teams a ton of credit.